Tonight, the city feels ordinary. Streetlights hum, trains rattle, people laugh like nothing is wrong. But 2 weeks ago, a man walked into a laundromat on Alder Street and he never came back out. His name was Martin Velasquez, 29 years old, quiet, reliable, always early for work. The kind of person who would call if he were running late. The cameras captured him too, just not the part that matters. On the footage, Martin enters at 8:17 p.m. He shakes rain from his jacket. He sets a blue backpack on the counter. The clerk says something you can barely hear, a casual greeting. Then the monitor flickers once, like a blink. When the image stabilizes, the laundromat is the same, but Martin is not. The backpack remains. The blue bag sits where he left it. The receipt is still there, folded neatly beside a detergent bottle. Even the clock over the back wall shows 8:17 p.m. again. Not later. Not earlier. Same minute, repeating like a trapped thought. Detective Lena Parks sees the case file and wants to call it a recording glitch. But she has been burned before by words like glitch and coincidence. She has seen too many events that refuse to behave. Lena starts with the building. Alder Street Laundromat is old, but it is not decrepit. The owner, a tired woman named Rosa, insists the cameras were new last year. She shows Lena the receipt, the warranty, the installer's business card. She swears she never touched the settings. Rosa leads her to the back room. The modem is there, blinking a steady green. The router sits like it always has, a small plastic box full of certainty. Lena asks for the server logs. Rosa tries to find them. The logs were erased, not corrupted, not overwritten, erased like someone cleared a chalkboard. The next clue is in the floor. When Lena kneels near the counter, she finds something that does not match the rest of the room. A hairline crack runs from beneath the counter toward the drain. The crack is fresh, jagged at the edges, like it formed in a hurry. But the tile around it is clean. No dust, no debris, no mess. Lena measures the crack with her phone. The screen shows the same reading as last night, even though she is holding it right now. The numbers do not change. The lock screen time does. She stands, and the air seems colder by a fraction. Meanwhile, another person arrives at the laundromat, more by instinct than invitation. Isaac Grant, a cryptographer with a habit of turning every question into a puzzle. He heard about the erased logs and the repeating minute, and he could not let it sit. He examines the backpack first, not the evidence inside. He studies the zippers, the stitching, the way the fabric folds under its own weight. Isaac finds a tiny smear on the inner lining, pale gray like chalk dust. He rubs it carefully with a swab. The residue smells faintly metallic, like rain on old coins. He places it under a handheld microscope. At first, it looks like nothing. Then, when he adjusts the light, the dust becomes layered. Not stains, not dirt, thin films like microscopic windows. Isaac says he has seen this pattern in lab-grade materials. But this is not a lab. This is a laundromat. Lena takes Isaac's swab results to the lab at the edge of the city, where a friend can run tests before the department loses interest. The friend is named Noor, and she is the kind of scientist who does not ask for permission from the universe. Noor finds something that should not exist in a public place. The residue responds to electromagnetic pulses in a way that resembles programmable matter. But the composition is wrong. It is not built, it is grown. Or it is assembled by something that borrows the rules. Her report is brief because her hands are shaking. Then Lena learns the strangest part. Martin was not the only one. A woman named Celia Ortiz disappeared 3 months earlier from a bus stop 2 blocks away. She had stepped onto the route that arrives at 7:42 p.m., and she never made it to the next stop. There were witnesses, people who swear they saw her sitting by the window, looking down at her phone. The bus camera shows the seat empty. The timestamp freezes on the same minute, 7:42 p.m., and the audio becomes a low static tone that sounds like breathing through a wall. But Celia's case was closed as voluntary disappearance. Her family was told she left by choice. They believed it because certainty is easier than grief. Now the families start to connect the dots. Isaac brings up the patterns on a map. Alder Street, the bus stop, a corner store, a subway stairwell, 4 locations. Each incident occurs within a small radius. Each event centers on an establishment with public foot traffic and an electronic system that should record the truth. Each time, the same thing happens at the same kind of moment. Not midnight, not dawn. The minute the city pauses for something small and human, a blink of a neon sign, a click of a microwave timer, a station announcement cutting out for one breath. Noor suggests the residue might be a carrier, a way to tag matter so it can be moved without moving through space the way we expect. Lena hates suggestions. She prefers steps, procedures, verifiable pathways. So she proposes a test. They set up a camera outside the laundromat. Not the owner's system, but their own. Multiple angles, independent recorders, separate power sources. Isaac rigs a battery pack that should last 12 hours. Noor calibrates sensors for electromagnetic anomalies. Lena positions herself by the counter in the late evening, ready to interrupt anything that feels wrong. They do not tell Rosa the full plan. Rosa has already lost one person to this nightmare. She does not need to be afraid too. At 8:16 p.m., the street sounds normal. A car door shuts. Someone drops keys. The world continues. At 8:17 p.m., the lights in the laundromat flicker. Not like a failure, like a signal trying to tune itself. Lena watches the independent recorder on her phone. The red dot stays steady. The time code should roll forward. Instead, it stops. Noor's electromagnetic sensor spikes, then drops to 0. The needle moves with a jerk, like it hits a wall and cannot find the right direction. Isaac whispers a calculation, then stops because his voice catches. The air in the room shifts, too subtle to be a draft, too deliberate to be weather. Lena can see the moment happen even if she cannot explain it. The floor does not crack, the walls do not fold. There is no flash. There is only a change in the way objects relate to time. In the back room, Rosa's detergent bottle tips slightly on its own and then rights itself. The motion is smooth, not like gravity. Like someone nudged it, then corrected. The independent camera shows Lena standing in the same place. But the audio is wrong. The clerk's greeting, a line no one spoke, plays through the speakers. The same greeting from the original footage. Her mouth does not match the audio. Her lips never form the words. Isaac watches the monitor. Martin's old blueprint for the moment overlays the scene, like a ghost file trying to load. Lena turns toward the counter and sees something she cannot process. The blue backpack is there. Not hers, not theirs, not placed. It sits exactly where Martin sat in the first video. Lena feels her pulse climb. She approaches, hands out like she is approaching an animal that might bolt. The zippers are warm. She opens the bag. Inside is not evidence, not documents, not personal effects. It is a key ring with 7 keys, each labeled with a laminated tag. The tags are printed in neat font, all bearing the names of people who have vanished in the city over the past decade. Some names are familiar to Lena from old cases she never believed were linked. There is a final tag, Martin Velasquez, and the last key is labeled Lena Park. She drops the bag. It thuds against the counter. The independent recorder starts again, the time code suddenly moving forward, as if nothing interrupted it. Noor catches Lena's elbow. Noor's eyes are wide, but her mind is racing. She points at the sensor readings. There is residue on the counter now, too. Pale gray dust, the same layered structure. Isaac looks at the keys, then at the door. Outside on the street, a man walks past with an umbrella. He stops near the bus stop 2 blocks away and checks his phone. He looks directly at the storefront camera, even though it is angled away from him. Then he smiles like he recognizes someone. Lena watches the man for a full minute. The city seems to hold its breath, waiting for the next minute to arrive. Noor says they should leave, but Lena cannot. Not after seeing her name. They decide to trace the source of the residue. Isaac takes a sample and runs a spectroscopy scan. The results show the dust is not uniform. It has gradients, layers like growth rings. Each layer corresponds to a timestamp, microscopic markers that increment by 1 minute, 1 blink at a time. Isaac realizes what it means. The incidents are not random disappearances. They are edits. Something out there is rewriting the minutes of the city, removing people and inserting them elsewhere without leaving a path. It edits the recordings because the recordings are part of the system being adjusted. But why Lena? Why the keyring? Noor offers a possibility she does not want to say aloud. Maybe the device does not choose victims. Maybe it chooses investigators. The act of searching becomes a signal, like a magnet calling iron. To test it, Lena sets a trap. The following night, she brings an item no one has touched since the original incident. Rose's laundromat receipt, the one folded beside the detergent bottle in the old footage. Isaac places it under a glass dish inside their camera setup. It is a simple object. Paper. Ordinary. At 8:17 p.m., the glass dish warms, then cools instantly. The paper begins to curl, not with heat, but with tension from inside. When Lena lifts the dish, the receipt is still intact, but the ink has changed. The clerk's greeting is now written across the top in a hand Lena does not recognize. It says, in plain words, "You cannot leave the minute until you finish watching it." Isaac tries to speak, but his jaw trembles. He takes out his tablet and brings up the camera feed again. The feed shows him standing where he was not, where he never stepped. A version of him paused at the exact moment the recorder first froze. Then the feed cuts to static. Noor's sensors spike a final time. Not enough to blow a fuse, just enough to make every electronic device nearby misbehave. Streetlights flicker in sequence, like a code being tapped. Lena hears something in the static. Not words, but a rhythm, like someone tapping a fingernail on glass, patient and deliberate. She realizes the tapping matches her own heartbeat. Her eyes sting. She looks at the key ring sample she kept in her pocket. One key, the one labeled Martin, now has a new tag. It reads open. In the corner of the laundromat, Rose's back door opens by itself. No air rushes out, no bell rings. It does not swing like a door should. It simply changes state from closed to open. Beyond it is not the alley. It is a hallway that should not exist, lit with the same warm glow as the laundromat interior, but longer, deeper. The floor tiles repeat in patterns like an endless loop of the city's memory. Isaac backs away. Noor grabs Lena's arm. Rosa appears in the doorway, though she was inside minutes ago, her face pale and strained. Rosa says she does not remember opening the door. Lena steps closer anyway. The hallway seems to breathe, slow and steady. She cannot tell if she is approaching it or if it is approaching her. Her mind reaches for logic. Logic says there is a trick, a hidden room, a vent, a malfunction. But logic cannot explain the erased logs, cannot explain the residue layers matching time, cannot explain why every recording stops on a human minute, a moment that can be counted. Lena thinks about the message on the receipt. Finish watching it, as if the mystery is not something you uncover, but something you witness completely. She raises her phone and points the camera toward the hallway. The screen shows the hallway clearly for a second. Then the screen freezes. The time code stops at 8:17 p.m. Lena's voiceover overlay plays again from the original clip. The same greeting, the same flicker, like a reel rewinding itself. And in that frozen instant, she sees Martin. Not walking, not running, standing just beyond the threshold, looking straight at her. He raises a hand as if to say, wait, but the hallway is silent. The real world is silent. Even the city outside feels muffled, like someone put a blanket over time. Lena whispers the question she does not want answered. Where are you? Martin does not speak. Instead, his expression changes, subtle as a clock changing from 1 minute to the next. He points behind Lena, toward the counter, toward the place where the backpack always sits. Noor pulls Lena back, hard. Isaac grabs her shoulder. Rosa starts crying, silently, shoulders shaking. On the counter, the keys reappear. The key labeled Lena Park gleams as if it was always there. Lena's fingers hover above it. She realizes the trap was never just the hallway. It was the choice. If she opens the keyhole of this minute, does she free Martin? Or does she invite whatever edits the minutes to keep rewriting, using her as a new anchor point? Her investigation could become the mechanism. The hallway door remains open, waiting for her decision. The clocks outside tick forward in the ordinary world. People pass by on Alder Street unaware. carrying groceries, checking their phones, laughing at messages that will never reach the next minute. Behind the counter in a laundromat that should be boring and safe, a mystery refuses to resolve. Maybe Martin is trapped in a loop. Maybe he escaped into a place made of recorded time. Maybe the city is being scanned by something that understands humans only as data. Or maybe the disappearances are not theft at all. Maybe they are offers. 1 minute at a time, the system waits for someone to look closely enough to complete the edit. Lena turns off her phone. The hallway does not close. The key does not disappear. She walks toward the exit, leaving the door open behind her. But when she steps outside, she sees the bus stop 2 blocks away. The digital sign above it reads 7:42 p.m. The minute is not moving. And somewhere a bell rings in a place that does not belong to this timeline. The mystery ends without answers, not because the clues are missing, but because the truth might be watching her back, waiting for the next minute to freeze, waiting for the next investigator to choose whether to finish watching.